Good morning, everybody. We're still having lighting technical issues that I'm working on. But I can only be so many places at once and do so many things at once. So we do the best we can with what we have. We start from where we are. Yada, yada, yada. Quote of the day. First, I'd like to introduce you to a new coffee cup in my collection. This was another Christmas present. You are everything I've wanted. Not entirely sure how to pronounce that, but the idea is there. Clearly, it came from my partner. I'm beginning to acquire quite the collection of coffee cups. Life is filled with mistakes. Not just my life, not just your life. You are not the only one who's done it wrong. You're not the only one who's heard the right way from your friends, from your family, from people wiser and more experienced than ourselves. Even that voice inside of ourselves that knew the right way and still did it the wrong way. You are not the only one who has failed at a thing, who has made mistakes, who will continue to fail and to make mistakes. You need to not carry the guilt, the shame, the resentment, the embarrassment, the humiliation around with you like shackles, invisible shackles of weight that you are carrying, dragging through your life, day after day after day, for mistakes that you have made in the past, especially if you find them particularly egregious and you would not do that same mistake again. We grow as we go. We only know what we know at the time that we know it, and we're only where we are when we're there. You're not the same person you were then. And if you wouldn't repeat the same mistake, you need to be able to forgive yourself and let that go, rather than continually beat yourself up for mistakes in the past, because you're not the same person you were then. You can't go backward, and you can't fault an unmatured person. Even if you feel the mistake is unforgivable, you need to be able to let that go. If you can forgive others, you can forgive yourself. Forgiving ourselves can be that much harder. And we like to kick ourselves when we're down. We have this terminal uniqueness that we're the only ones capable of screwing up our lives. Whether it's a small mistake at work, blurting out something we shouldn't have said in the heat of the moment to a friend, a relative, a parent, a big failure, a big mistake, getting wrapped up in drugs, or like myself with an eating disorder, or mismanaging time, perfection is an illusion. There is no such thing as perfection, it's perceptual. Failing is an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to change direction. And it only hurts you if you allow it to hurt you. There have been a lot of people all of our lives trying to tell us not to do that thing, including ourselves, and we don't listen. Like me with my smoking. I started when I was young. I never thought I would have a problem. I never thought it would cling to me for the rest of my life and kick me in the ass. Indefinitely be some issue that I would struggle with for so many years that seemed insurmountable, and I watch other people take care of it, and I can't figure out why I just can't do it. And it makes me feel inferior and guilty and ashamed on top of all the damage I'm doing to myself. And yet, once upon a time, I was young. They say that youth is wasted on the young. And everyone told me not to do it. Don't pick up that cigarette. Don't start smoking. And I did. And I did it for the dumbest reason. I did it because I had an eating disorder, and I watched this documentary in one of my health classes about a girl with an eating disorder, and she picked up smoking because it suppressed her appetite. So I picked it up for a stupid reason. I didn't even want to smoke. I had to choke my way through it to get used to it. I did it because I was trying to aid an eating disorder. What a stupid way to get stuck with 20 years of, for me personally, an incredibly difficult to counter addiction. And it's taking a health toll, and who knows what future health toll it's going to take on me. And I should have known. A part of me did know, but I was too young, and I was where most youth are. We only are where we are, and we all make mistakes, big and small. Which leads me into the quote of the day. You only learn from experience. So as much as someone can tell you things, you have to go out there and make your own mistakes in order to learn. Whether it's where you found yourself when you became a conscious individual, and you realized you had this life and this personality and this relationship and this situation, and it's like waking from a dream. And you found yourself somewhere, being somebody, doing some things, and you were shocked at where you came from. It's like having a midlife crisis, that wake-up moment. But it doesn't have to happen in midlife. It can happen in your 20s. It can happen in your 60s. It's that moment that you realize that you stumbled through your life almost like a zombie, reacting rather than designing. And you take a look around at what is, and wow, you realize that you're not who you want to be or where you want to be or doing what you want to be doing. There's some things that you've been mismanaging and misperceiving and mishandling all your life. There may be some things in your past that frequently bubble to the surface, and you have a hard time letting go of them. It's been said that the snake bite doesn't kill you. It's the venom that stays in your blood afterward that will eventually kill you. That comes with resentment and anger and bitterness at others who have hurt you. And the same goes for anger, resentment, bitterness, and unforgiveness towards yourself for mistakes you have made of yesterday. Also, don't go in blindly as you wake up each day, Pollyanna, assuming. Now that you see, especially if you really have reached a point where you've grown enough internally and grasped yourself enough internally, you know why you do, what you need to change, and where you'd like to go. the things you will never repeat again, and you truly aim to conduct yourself in a certain way, that you're never going to make another mistake again. Even one that all the right people, all the people you trust, tell you straight out not to do, not to think, not to be. And somewhere inside of you, you know better. And you still do it anyway. Your whole life through, you're guaranteed to make mistakes. Big ones, little ones. You're also guaranteed to fail. Little failures. Forgetting to take your laundry out of the communal laundry room and blocking it off for all of your neighbors. Being inconsiderate. Forgetting someone's birthday. To big mistakes. You have to get used to accepting mistakes and failures as a normal part of the learning experience. When you were a child and you attempted to walk, you didn't just pop up off the floor and start off running. You held yourself up, you stumbled, you fell into coffee tables and broke your little face, and you just kept doing it, and you just kept doing it, and you just kept doing it, and you just kept doing it. You failed and you made mistakes over and over and over and over again until eventually you learned how to walk. That's what we do. It works for a baby walking, it works for a person living. There's no roadmap to life. Each person's life is individual, each person's circumstances are individual, each person's modus operandi of how their brain works, their physical, mental, emotional challenges, their circumstantial difficulties, their support systems, their society, their input, everything is unique unto that individual. And not all advice is good. You're right to be skeptical of advice, even from the right people, even from the best people. And not always take it. And maybe not taking that advice, maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe it's just a risk. And maybe it's a risk to your benefit. But just like we wouldn't listen when we were kids, when we were adolescents, to our parents, and now we know. And by and large, they were right. You'll miss this when you get older. Time moves faster every year. You shouldn't smoke, etc., etc., etc. Those friends are a bad influence on you. The list goes on. And we did what we wanted. We did what we felt was right. Those are just minute examples of mistakes and failures learned through experience, and how you can't fault the individual, that individual being yourself. You can't fault yourself, guilt yourself, beat the shit out of yourself for past failures and mistakes, even the egregious ones. Process it, let it go, and promise yourself not to repeat that kind of moral indignity because your character has grown, because you weren't there yet, just like a teenager is not an adult, and they don't really get it. You didn't really get it. The best therapists in the world can help us treat our mental health issues, can help us treat our interpersonal issues, The best motivational speakers in the world can inspire us and guide us. The best mentors in the world can take us under their wing and help lead us along to positive improvement in our conduct, in our health, in our careers, in aiming toward the things that we want to aim to. And we can make those changes to the best of our ability. And we'll still make mistakes. We will stumble on our way anywhere we go. It's really, 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 really important to have an open heart, open ears, open mind, and gather as much knowledge and wisdom and education as you possibly can, because if you knew what you were doing, like if I knew what I was doing, if I really truly understood what I was doing outside of my own perspective, when I picked up that first cigarette, I never would have done it. But I didn't know. And maybe all the knowledge and good advice in the world still would not have prevented me from making that mistake. Maybe it would have. We only know what we know when we know it. So it's really useful to gather as much information as you can. Gather as much knowledge and insight as you can. Listen to trusted people. Try not to make mistakes. But mistakes are a part of life. And no matter the direct A to Z, step-by-step process of how to do it, you don't know. No matter how clear the direction, until you go out and get your hands dirty, until you try that thing, until you do that thing, that life thing, that specific thing, that goal attainment thing, that character improving thing, that making friends and acquiring knowledge and building a skill set, or whatever it is that you are trying to improve and master and incorporate and add to your life to make yourself better and happier. And perhaps that thing is forgiving yourself of mistakes and letting yourself off the hook and accepting that perfection doesn't exist and mistakes are guaranteed. But until you do it, till you get your hands dirty, you don't know. You have to do that thing. Try that thing that you want to try, give it a shot. Nobody's perfect at first, but you have to start to get perfect. To get good. No, there is no such thing as perfect, but to get good. But expect mistakes. Accept mistakes as a part of the learning process. Expect and see them as an opportunity to learn. Don't shame or guilt yourself for mistakes. And you can learn about a thing as much as you want. If you don't do that thing, you don't know if you can do that thing. And don't judge if you can do that thing based on the mistakes that you make along the way, because they're guaranteed. And just in general in life, we're going to make mistakes. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe a lot in one day. And that doesn't make you a bad person. You need to learn to cope with, to accept, to cope with, to process, to learn from, to embrace, to not guilt, shame, embarrass, ridicule yourself for mistakes. The first time you go to bake a cake, it might fall in the middle. You made a mistake. Don't cry over spilt milk. Let the little shit go. Learn from your failures. Because you make mistakes doesn't mean you are a mistake. And expect many more to come. Good morning. I love you guys. I'm working mornings right now, so I have to go. Making this video instead of getting ready for work may indeed have been one of many mistakes I shall make today. Love you guys. Good morning. Goodbye. You only learn from experience, so as much as someone can tell you things, you have to go out there and make your own mistakes in order to learn. Mistakes are given, they're a learning process, they're nothing to be ashamed of, and because you make mistakes does not mean you are one. These quotey things get really long. Good morning, goodbye.